Okay, now we are officially started. Who wants to go first? In our big kind of sharing. Let me turn this camera around so everybody could see y'all. More or less.
I'll go.
Okay, good. What's that?
Shauna Kate. Okay. Displain ayah. Jinkat ya kia des. Dech jinkat ka klek yach ini. Halloween guksati.
Oh, okay, how yeah, well, guns cheese. Hade ya cook kwahin ya Halloween. Hade ya cook kwaha. Okay, guns cheese. You did kwa adusa? Yeah.
Trump du'i wush adahi Kim Jong-un ke kunach shan.
Yeah, Hawaii, University of Hawaii has to chew away. Kashuk yuchetangi. Wasa atka kone gwas nuclear missile hade katwa. That's gani. Okay. I guess I did. Anyone online? Anyone anywhere?
Gandus Apchi. Udagan. At. Sugun I Dejeuner. At Kwagut.
Yake guns cheese. Kua kewe ya yaki. Yewe gwas. Ye agutagan sekadinsu. Yake. Yeah, miracle yacheti. I do say that.
Kunach Tlingit Yahan Nastin.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, away. Hanastin. Hanachlingit.
Nastin.
Yeah, away. Progressive imperfective. Yay, do a soft way verb. Yake It's cheese. You that hard do so.
I'll go.
Okay.
Well, just as I was looking through some books on the larger speeches that elders have given, stuff like that. There was this one page, this one phrase that I really liked. I forgot who did it. I should have written it down. But it kind of expresses the way we are in language together, especially this class. You know, we're kids. We're kind of, you know, how they have kids holding each other's hand, walking down the street, and you got the teacher like this way, don't go there, don't go there, you know, stuff like that. So it's whoosh jin tush shot.
Yeah, away. Whoosh jin tush shot. Yeah, so how you getting him? You can't away. Kat ye. David Kaddish. Yeah, kecha. You that hard do so. See. Just look up a verb real quick while you guys are thinking of the next contestant.
Constantine Shaki.
Yeah, awa shaki aya late aya qadzati yati akak yad Siske at kisa kajik. Yeah, oh wait, I gotta show this to. Let me show it to the gang. It'll be funnier when you guys can see it. Siske at kisa kajik. Cheese, Johan, you okay? I do so eat that. Cut the sock up. You cut. Oh. Okay. Cut say work up. Yeah, a cut say work up. A cut say work up. A cut say work up. Jay good genki chuckle day. So whatever the object is in there is doing forgetting. And whatever the possessive pronoun before that relational, before the cut, that's what's being forgotten. So you could say, so for example, a kat se woke up, I forgot it. Ik kat se woke up, I forgot you. A kat se woke up, he or she forgot me. Okay.
Cut is forget it. You all forget about it.
Oh, forget about it. Okay, I see where you're going now. Okay, and then we'll come back to shop. Geez. Forget about it. Yeah, mafia yacheti. Guksa. A cut is a cup. And then you could say, Kesh a kach is a cup. Don't forget me. Dana dakahiti again. Okay. Yewe PFD kaji khayaye wati. But shitihini kako aya dana dakahiti de has uataka hundakahiti electric company gua Petromarine adwa takatach dana yi ukatanihi natina hayati. You okay?
Did you lose Vegan?
Oh.
Wow. Once I yourself, who has anyone
Oh.
from here?
Oh, yeah.
Like who does?
Right? I guess, yeah, I do jiwu sawe Dana. The PFD it. I guess you could do something like that. Question PFD et don. Question PFD dana et. No. You would say, maybe you could say something funny like aduj sa kesh the cutway PFD so it gets a little complicated, but we were laughing because I was working with elders and we were trying to get them paid. And then there's, you'd say this, no, it's not, is it that one? This, no, I guess it's kind of this one. No. Shuachich would be like to throw money around, and stuff like that. So there's different phrases for that. So, but you could just say yidet ko'a adujiwu sawewe dana. Now though, who has money? So you could do it kind of in a way where we already know what. Yidet ko'a adujiwu sawewe dana. Yeah, away hakachaya audagan. Okay. Cheese. Okay. Hatsu gal hatim. Yakoe wegam. Okay. Yidet ko'a do ça. English to Chastu, okay. Shetzi. Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. Echa, finish cheese.
Chayu achtuasigu.
Okay. Spikes has to do what he. Ichtidee ku'u yi'it koha ja'asa kashdasach idatania Whoever didn't talk yet, say something.
Can I see the class again?
Oh, yeah, what?
Tikata kashak. Wasatini. Wasash tidinuk.
Okay.
Goodness cheese.
What about me?
Oh. Katsu again? Katyasa nuksha.
Like Wasatina. You're in the corner.
I wish we could see you guys.
Oh. Wait, it has.
How would you say I can't see you?
Kesh ilsatin. Yeah, I mean it could get along, but that's just like I don't see you. Let me find that button. So there's the stop share. Now I'll move you guys over here. Hold on. They want to be able to see you guys, and now you see us guys. Somewhat. Okay. Okay, who's Adusa?
We can see them.
Khatwini khatke kwaye khatkokanech. Okay, achtuasiku iwanechi tenakans chish. Adusa yidat kaa. Shitka yit.
Wisha shaki lik yang kawadan achwe kusiat nayagi ke yakhanata.
Ha. Yeah, away.
Dande atut yayagi.
Ah. Okay, ha. Come. Kwasqone aya. Yakakanahuan. Maybe it's gonna get frosty. Okay. Anybody else? Cha'asa.
Is there a way to say happy, like we should have a happy Indigenous Peoples Day?
Oh. Oh wait, let me see if someone else can talk. Good.
Tlingit
Okay, kakaktu ak. Cheese. Wuke ake we Tlingit yaki. I don't know how else you'd say Tlingit. Eka Tlingit yaki. Maybe. Real People's Day. Ashtin ach ik yaki kusiat huwakan awajak. Ha yake. It's Khatsu ach tuasaku. Anyone else? Okay. Well, let's just take a reflective moment here. How is the language learning going? Okay, Sha. Things are clicking. It's good. We want things to click. Sometimes that's a great thing.
I'm struggling.
Struggling? Okay. That does happen. What could help? What do you think?
Immersion.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I think we got to figure out if we got this many people studying Tlingit, and if we just did a head count, there's a lot. Shedehin just gets into that category, which is wonderful. But now we got to figure out how do we all just get together, and that would be amazing if we could just figure out a way to do 10 days somewhere, 5 days somewhere, 3 days somewhere. And so I do think there's ways for stuff like that to happen. A couple years ago, we were toying around with the idea of just kind of renting some different spaces. There's some places around town that aren't too bad for those of you who are in Juneau. We used to have these kind of annual big sort of immersions. There was one in Yakutat. They do these mini immersions now. There was a bigger one a couple years ago. There was one here at the shrine a year or two ago. There was a smaller one at the Methodist camp. So there are options, like as getting speakers to places can be a little challenging these days, getting elderly speakers. But that's something we should probably try and figure out and brainstorm. How do we get some of that stuff together? It could be a smaller scale. It could be somebody just hosts some kind of thing once a week or every other week or something.
I know Alaska Heritage with the apprenticeship program. Right now they're trying to schedule a 3-day immersion, and it's really hard because everybody's so busy.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at winter break, and they're thinking about the first week of January or something. But I'm sure with them, it was just myself and Florence that went to last immersion.
Right.
That was so hard. I felt like, and if we could get more than just our Juno groups that are going to be there, and more of us, I would make it so much more interactive.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be good if we can get together at least once a year and try and get as many people as we could and do this sort of 5-day kind of a thing. Because a lot of things will click if, you know, you pick it up, you put it down, you pick it up, you put it down, but you go to an immersion and it's just there, and you got people like Natsuki Ish who say, it's speak or starve. You know, that's pretty fun. Anyone else? You guys online, how's everything? Let me check the chat board here. Still having a bit of an obstacle how to transform and blend the words in the right order, so it says what I want. Still struggling a bit with how to use the classifier letters. How do you know which letter to use? Yeah, so word order is always interesting. And then also like which verb to pick and then which classifier and then how does it start to shift. And so those are big parts of it. And those are the parts of it where we're going to start engaging in. And then we'll sort of look at some other things too, like how to add possessive suffixes on nouns and how to, there's all this other stuff. And so our goal is we'll just keep doing practice stuff, looking at beginning Tlingit with this sort of different kind of a lens. But then also we're going to start looking at everything except for verbs. So we got a pretty good idea of how everything in Tlingit works except for verbs. Then we get to this point where we're just trying to A, figure out how verbs work, B, learn more verbs, C, learn more of everything else. Right? And so that's really, I think, part of what you're trying to do now. And you've got to supplement that stuff with whole language somehow. Listening to recordings and tapes and videos. If there's people from your community that you want to be able to listen to, you should start listening to those. And then at some point, probably a little bit later in the semester, but I'll show you some of the stuff, the tools that are out there that can help you to listen to stuff as a translator and as a transcriber. Because that's a little bit of a different form of listening, where you're trying to write down what they're saying and to translate what they're saying. Anybody else? Okay. Well, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise here. Shken says the same. So yeah, and I think as we see these verbs, there's all these verbs we can look up. But at some point, you start maxing out on how much stuff you can memorize. And you have to get to this point where you start thinking about the structure of the language, how it functions, how you can sort of start putting things in the right places. But for now, the next exercise that I'd like to do is a little bit of a translation exercise. So get all your dictionaries and your websites and everything ready, because we're going to take turns. What I'd like us to do is try to each do one, and you'll read the sentence, and then we'll all read the sentence. If it needs anything, I might read it again for you. And then we'll give you a chance to figure out what it says. And then here's the key. This is all you have to say. There's no shame saying it at all. Everybody say, Ach eat Yiddishe. 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 What does that translate to? Help me, right? Help. Just help, right? I just call for help. And there's no big hurry. There's no big rush. If we're sitting here for like 10 minutes, I might be like, well, let me throw you out, But look at, there's some things that maybe we haven't done in this class yet. Maybe we did last semester. Maybe you did somewhere else. These are very fun. Vesta Dominic's made wonderful language materials. And so I found this through the Alaska State Historical Library. They had scanned it. And I just thought, oh, wow, wouldn't it be wonderful to just teach with this? And so we did it with a third-year Tlingit class, and they had a hard time. So I don't want to get you too intimidated, but it's just called little readings, and they're just fun little things that you can use. And then your goal is to get stuff like this, and then to learn how to say it in other ways, right? So you can go from he or she is doing this, to he or she did that, to he or she will do that, to do it, don't do it, right? Those are the big things that we're focusing on. There's a bunch of other stuff. Like, for example, when we were talking earlier, I can't see you. It can get a little complicated. So you could say, I don't see you, and that's a little bit of an easier way to say it. So ilsatin is the verb that we're thinking about there, to see somebody. We've already used this verb in a lot of different ways. The ways that we have seen it, we have talked about it, is I see you, good to see you later, right? So those are basically the three ways we've encountered this particular verb. So if you go down, there's chwasatin. So everybody say chwasatin. 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 So you get there, you get, what is this part? Me, right? Yeah, I am doing it. And then the wa. So the hua part, it's a bit interesting because it's the perfective plus the subject, and the perfective marker jumps over the first person. So something that you have to get used to. The sit part, what is that? Classifier. It's a classifier, right? So this is an S classifier because whenever you change the group, you have a different verb, right? Because I think someone said earlier, Gao chatin. I see a drum. But if we're all been looking for this drum, okay, now have you seen that drum, like our drum, that one drum? Then it would be Wei Gao Huasitin. I see that drum, that one. This is why whenever I see you, it's this sit classifier, because you're not just anybody, you are you. You are something special. So that's that one, Huasitin, right? Another way we can have this verb appear. Oops. So you could say, Kashwasatin. 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 So now, I don't see it. Kash-irsatin. I don't see you. So, irsatin, kash-irsatin. We go from sit to sa because it hasn't, the sit would mark it has happened, right? There's one other case, but for now we'll just say it has happened. It's really just in that positive perfective to say the verb is, it did happen. So then we've seen this. Yekakwasatin.
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 I'll see you. Right? So that's just using a future form. I will see you. You get the tsu part to say again. To yekakwasatin. I'll see you again. Right? So this is another one you could use to say I cannot see you. And it gets a little bit fun. Where you'd say I cannot see you. There's no like he's not turning the camera. I can't see you. But that's a big sort of thing. This is all, hey, let's do that later stuff. But you can certainly look at it. You can certainly learn how to say it. But there's quite a few things in there. But we'll deal with perfectives, imperfectives, progressive imperfectives, futures. That's what we want to deal with right now. At some point, you want to be able to do this stuff. To say, hey, let's go climb to the top of that mountain and play in the snow. There's no way I can go to the top of that mountain, right? But we'll get there. For now, we're going back to our little readings. Okay. Who wants to go first?
Gandus Achi, I'll go first since I'm going to have to sign off real quick here.
Okay, goodness, cheesh. Okay, read it, and then we'll give you a minute to try and figure it out.
Hold on, I have to figure out how I can see it better because something's covering it.
You just have this little part right here.
Oh.
The answers are on the other side.
Dasawe ashuk, dasawe ashuk, dukik awe heat woodzikit.
Okay. I'll note one little change here. These days we would say dukik away heat woodzikit. So that would be a G instead of a K for that verb group. Okay.
I'm supposed to guess what it is now? Or translate it?
All the many resources at your disposal.
Okay.
And if this isn't your turn, you should be trying to figure it out as well. Just don't say it. A dictionary, a verb dictionary, those two things should get you pretty far.
And not the book, but you can also add this.
What's that?
But not the book.
Oh. Don't look up this book. Don't look up the answers. That's not translating, it's just cheating. But after we're done, definitely get the book. Very good.
Sorry, I closed my dictionary
Okay.
too soon.
So should we help?
No, I'm almost there.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry, I can't.
Wasps.
Like, do you have something?
What's that?
Do you have something? Ashuk. Ashuk.
Yisikuge? Ashu. Dasa. Smiling.
Laughing?
Laughing. Dasawe ashu. It's good.
His brother, her brother.
Younger sister?
Yeah, so this is, we haven't done really the kinship stuff to keep. So we have to sort of take a look and say, looks kind of like a little girl. So I would translate that as her little sister. Heat would to get, huh?
Throw in the water.
Oops, that didn't do anything.
Got wet?
What is she laughing at? Her sister fell overboard. It's not very nice, but it's yeah, well. So as we revisit, so if we look up shoe in the verb dictionary, we're going to find smile or laugh. The smiling usually would have Aideshu would be what is she smiling at, whereas ashu would be to laugh. And it's interesting because the English you would say like at, you know, there's something that has to be the at thing. But then you just say dasawe ashu. What is he or she laughing at? So I could say dasawe ishu. What are you laughing at? Dasawe chashu. What am I laughing at? I don't know. You keep away. Keen. So the T, because that's where she fell. Would to get is for a person to fall.
So get, or what is the verb? The verb
Geet. Geet is for some singular thing to fall. Things they fall in all kinds of different ways, but some singular thing. So you could say, Dak geet, I fell. Or geet.
I'm sorry, so what's the root for to fall again?
Geet.
G.
G-E-E-T. So as we see this, whenever we look them up, we're going to look them up long and low. So if we see git, we're going to look up geet. Okay?
Because you don't even know how to find the root. That's hard.
Yeah, you should know by now.
But we don't. Or some of us don't.
Yeah. Hurts my heart a little bit.
Oh.
Who wants to go next? No pressure. Okay.
Give me easy one.
Well, whatever's in the cards.
Ici, après, Kagaskar, do she could would eat?
Get away. And this was a while ago. The only difference for this one is today we would write put would jihi as two different words. Get away.
Again, that would be, is the root?
It's two verbs. What's the first verb? So the first verb, do you want to stop?
Go.
Is si aqua. So well, without the verb, do we know what that is? Huh? There is, it could mean doll, but in this it can also mean isi, your daughter, right? Because you say achsik, but when you talk about someone else's daughter, you'd say dusi, isi, right? The K kind of comes, and C could also be a doll. So that one gets a little confusing. Kadepah. We know what that one is? Kadepah. This is crying out loud, like loud crying. Not like.
Why are you crying?
Not quite. Why are you crying?
Why are you sad?
So the other thing that this little readings help us do is to look for some of the question markers and other things. Yasawi ashu. What is he or she laughing at? Is si akwa? So akwa means is that? Is that your daughter crying? Is that your daughter crying?
Oh, yes.
Dudushi ujihi.
Yes.
Yes.
Her cat
Her cat
either died or scratched her.
Ran away?
ran away. Ran away. Ujihi. Right? So this is what people do. Like, say you got your PFD and you owe the loan sharks all this money. you might put ujihi. Like, oh, yeah. Right? It means to get lost, like to ran away and got lost. But it's often meant to just, ran away, gone. And you got to be kind of careful, because there's ways to say, like, if you said, Dudushi kutshuwahi, that means ran to the end. And that means that's it. And you're talking around the fact that maybe the cat went out in the road and the car went over the cat. Okay.
So I'm sorry for that verb. What's the verb for that one? Ran away.
He.
So
Let me make sure I got my chat room on. I don't know if I don't, so I don't want to miss anything.
he.
Okay. Yeah. So for our verb roots, we got shoot, which is to laugh or smile. Gate, or geet, which is to fall. Single thing to fall, living creature to fall. To cry. Wukah would be maybe crying kind of quiet, maybe the single tear type of thing. Kadakah is crying out loud. He is to run. This is the verb for a singular thing, to run. Okay? So when we get into motion verbs and stuff, you can say, Adewugut. He or she went over there. Adewujahi. He or she ran over there. Right? Okay. Anybody?
So I'm sorry, but when you see that, and then you look at that verb root and it says run, fall, drop, rise, and happen or flow, how do you know which of those happened to the cat?
Oh, well, there's Yawahi, which is for like planets to move and things to move across the universe. So a cat's not a star. So that one can, and so let me look at you're looking at the verb dictionary?
Yeah, because there's a bunch of different things, like it could have fallen or dropped or hit something.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's where I struggle with, like, there's a lot of things that could happen to a cat,
So yeah, right. They have 9 lives. So. Luckily that's our subject. So as we find he, this is a good point. So as we find he, and we saw it was wujjahi, the next clue is the classifier. Classifier will help us find that verb. So it can't be yahi, because that's a different classifier. It can't be sit. It has to be jihi. So the J-I, this is how they wrote the classifier in the 1970s. Flashback, right? So we see this, jihi, to run, proceed at a fast pace. That is the verb.
Which resource is that you're in?
This is the Tlingit verb dictionary. Nation story.
Oh, okay.
This is the best place to go look up your verb. And it's not the best place to conjugate your verb, but if you know, look up that verb fast, this is the place to go. Because this shows you, once you change the classifier, you have a different verb. Once you add a thematic prefix, which goes in front of the classifier, that is also a different verb. So even though the root is there, so the root has to do with sort of running, moving kind of quickly. Then you get a whole bunch of stuff that comes sort of related to that. Okay. Oops, let me pull up my little, I lose track of my gang. Who wants to go next? Anybody online want to do this one? Anybody in the room want to do this next one? Okay, we got to take it. Uh-oh, I'm missing messages too. Let me see. It's not a variation of Woodzigit. It's just that's how they spelled it probably when this particular text came out. So it would be Woodzigit Ye'oweh. And then, back to the question. Thank you, I'm glad I saw that. Okay, so there's ST, and then IN, and then TR. What do you guys think those mean? So this is stative, and then this is intransitive, and this is transitive. So what they're marking here is when nation story put stative, that means that there's only an object pronoun. When they put transitive, there's an object and a subject. And when they put intransitive, there's usually just a subject.
All I can hear is I'm sorry.
Somebody asked, so I'm answering.
No, that's great.
Right?
Somebody says stated.
This is how they used to say it. So the phrasing has changed a little bit nowadays. So now when they say ST here, we call that object intransitive. All it means is there's an O in there and nothing out there. There is an object in there. There is not a subject. If there's an IN, there is a subject, but not an object. We call that subject intransitive. If there's a TR, there is both an object and a subject. You cannot remove them. They are there. And there's another one which is IM, and that means there's neither. That's all that's nowadays we don't really put that, we just put the O and the S in the front.
Wait, what is IM?
Impersonal. Like the weather verbs. You got your PFD, but you didn't make it rain.
Are those explained in one of our handouts? Those IN and ST and TR? Okay.
I don't think so. They're in the house in Echayu. So we will get to it. Somebody asked. I want to make sure. They said. Yidetka. So yeah, a couple of things have changed from what Nation Story have done. Their work is amazing, right? They just laid a whole bunch of groundwork for us in terms of understanding how Tlingit works. The things that have changed is now we put a clear sort of root marker in front of the root. We usually write the classifier a little bit different because we don't add the I in there. We also mark if it's plus D, like this one is plus D. And then we put the O and the S in there where they should be. So the O would go here. If there was an S, it would go there. If there isn't one. And then we call them transitive, intransitive, transitive, subject intransitive, object intransitive, and impersonal. So only one of their names kind of stuck. So it's what we're trying to do with Tlingit is to try and do what most people are doing with other languages. Because the one thing you don't want is you don't want really unusual terminology for a critically endangered language. Because you don't want to support the idea that Tlingit is super, it just does things that other languages do. But languages do really complicated things. You know how to take care of all of this stuff. You know how to do this stuff in English. But if English wasn't your first language, you would have to learn how to do that stuff, right? And this is why you say, "Be a good Indian," right? And someone's like, "Oh no, I'm a good Indian." They say, "Oh no, I'm a good indigenous person." Okay.
So is the new identification make it easier to see?
I think so.
I guess what I'm getting at is maybe that would be a good practice if you have this book to get little post-it tags and change those where you see the ST and the IN into the new translation. So
that could be because if we look up Heath down here, and then we're going to find Basically, this one kind of. I mean, well, let's see. So, we could find it in here. So it's right there. So then we can find that actual verb, how we write it today. And we can find all these things. Dudushi, kutki, nashich. Their cat is running away right now, right? And then we can look at how we write it. So now we see kut, and then we have S for subject, J for classifier, He for the root, and then it's a motion verb, and it's got conjugation. Right? And so, again, whenever we get into verbs, there's a whole lot of stuff in there. So.
I have a question
about
the Nash story. Yours had the index on the left hand.
Oh, yeah.
And when I look at it, when I open it on my phone, it doesn't have any index like that.
It should. If you're getting it from the TlinkitLanguage.com one, but you might have to look at which PDF.
When I download, okay.
Because these are bookmarks, and there should be a way to access the bookmarks. And if you're not able to, try a different PDF reader. Because most of them, I just on the Apple one, there's a little sort of thing that you poke, and then you gotta poke it again, and then it pops up. So this makes it pretty fast to be able to look things up like that.
That's a big deal.
Okay.
Okay.
Oops, I did the wrong one. Oops, I did the wrong one. There we go.
Play away to ushku sham khashi.
Shadul khashi. And unak achit. And you can just ask us too if there's one thing you're kind of stuck on if you want to, or give it to us. Unak. Oops. You guys can remember that.
Away to ushku sham khashi.
Yeah, well.
That's a way to ushku sham khashi. What's I do with some?
Unak is Tlingit. Do to yeti. Unak. Yet, Khonak. Aunt Unak. Yet, Aunt Unak. It's an interesting way to say it.
Hungry.
Yeah, wait.
So, I mean,
He's angry.
Expression or
Right?
angry.
He is angry.
He is angry.
The literal translation.
About his haircut, or doesn't want to get a haircut.
He doesn't want have his hair cut. That's a good boy. So when you say Chant Uwanuk, it's really interesting, right? The way that King Gacy came and explained it to us. It's like if there was another chair right here, and in this chair was anger. I am choosing to sit with anger. That's why you say Chant Uwanuk. Chant Uwanuk. He is sitting with anger. But it just translates to he's angry. Achit, that's the way Achit. My son. My son. My son is angry. Kashawe de toa ushku. Shauduskashi. He didn't want to have his hair cut. Well, I guess his hair is cut. Right, so you could say due to us ago, he wants or wanted. He doesn't want, he didn't want.
What's the verb root?
Oh, this one?
Yeah.
What is the verb root of that?
Is it
Kash. Right? So whenever you have this kash away due to wa ushka, shao du kashi. So it gets that I on the end to show that's the thing he didn't want. Right? For example, he didn't want the cat to run away. Kash away due to wa ushka, wujihihi we douche. He didn't want the cat to run away. He didn't want her to fall in the water. Kash due to wa ushka, hint with the kitten. He didn't want her to fall in the water. He didn't want her, he doesn't want her to be crying. He doesn't want her to be crying. So the second thing gets the suffix marker, which shows that's the thing that's not wanted. And you can have a positive form of all of those. He wanted to get his hair cut. Due to wasagu shaudukashi. I guess it'd be shaududekashi.
When you just did that for the three different things, that's really helpful to see how it changes. And I think like a worksheet or something that we could do, that's where it's the third, where we're conjugating it in the same way every time might be.
Yeah, we can come up with that. Due to wasagu, we douche, wujihihi. Maybe he does. Actually, it should be wushi. Okay. Keep going. Something else. We'll do one more page. We'll do 3 more sentences. Who wants to go next? Okay. Okay. Wa'a, aqa wa'a. Okay. And it should have a question mark, I think. Take a talk away. Anything on there that you can tell us about?
Maybe dinner, maybe.
So this e'at akyu, you can think that one. E'at akyu. You take a talk away. That's the way e'at. your paternal aunt. Yeah. And so this is where it gets really interesting because the AQ part is saying, is that over there, right? So she's way over there. What the AQ is asking, it comes right after what it's asking. So if you say the AQ, you get the ashat. So the ashat part, do we know what that one is?
Something with wife.
No. Earlier we said wush tushat hajin, something like that. Hajin tushat. Ashat. Yeti yitlashat idat. Achkuchayi choslashat. Holding. And it could be, this is one of those verbs that has a lot of different meanings. Holding, carrying, imprisoning, grabbing, catching. It could be any of those things, right? But we just look at the thing. I don't think that child's in jail.
So you said AQ is that? It's like, but
Right.
Why wouldn't it be get if it was a yes or no?
The get is built in there. It's a, get, you. Akwe, akya, akyu. So like I could say, like let's say I came in and I picked up this cup. Ach, guchayi akya? Ah, it guchayi awa. Is this my cup? Yes, that's your cup. And then if our cat that ran away came back, adushi akwa? Is that our cat? Yes, that's our cat. And then if our cat's still running away, adushi akyu? Right there. Is that our cat way over there on the mountainside? My binoculars. So what the akyu tells us is that she's far away from us, or from the speaker. I guess they could be on the phone and somewhere else. But what's interesting is this: if it says e'an akyu, right before it is what it's asking. So it's not asking, is she holding her child? Is that her child she's holding? No. Is that your paternal auntie that's holding her child? It's holding her child. Right? Not yours, that is hers. Because the do has to refer to her. It would be too complicated. You'd have to say it differently if you're saying someone else's. But you could say, E'at akyu ach yeti ashat. E'at akyu yeti ashat. Ach ad akyu yeti ashat. So you could move around. Is that your paternal auntie that's holding her child? Like, ach away. Last call for talk. That's why talk. Achla du shat achla du keek has away achla has. Yeah away. That's Ginny. That's my maternal aunt. That's not my mother. That's not my father's sister. That's my mother's. We didn't do the big kinship part yet. Okay. All I need is a reader for. Oh wait, you're on, right? Okay. Yeah. Away.
My son.
That is my son over there, way over there.
He loves her sister.
He loves his sister. Yeah, away. That is my son. He loves his sister. right? Ahit ayu. So this is another interesting thing that Tlingit does. Once we said that, ahit ayu, that's who we're talking about. We do all kinds of stuff now. As soon as we said duh, we know that it's his, right? We could specify otherwise, but it doesn't quite make sense. Ahit ayu, achlaq chasachan. Like you can say that, that's weird. There's my son, I love my sister, right? So it's all about this sort of this continuity of keeping to what we're talking about. Okay, we'll do the last one together. I just need a reader. Adu hasayu, akhunki ayu. Who are they? They are my friends. Akhunki ayu. Who are they? Adu hasayu. Who are they over there? They are my friends. Okay, gang. Okay. Goodness cheesh. So this shows you like even just little tiny things. There's lots of stuff. They're just these little short things. There's a whole bunch more of these. So we're going to do more of these, and that the goal would be we'll do some other ones where I'll just go through and look them up. So I could show you some of the ways what I would do. You know, as far as when I see things, I'm like, oh wait, what does that mean? Wait, there's a verb. Let's look it up. Hey, there's that. But there's a lot of stuff that you already know, too. That's sort of in here. Let's take a break.
Where's this book?
I'm not going to tell you. We got to finish it first. Once we finish it, I will reveal. For now, it's just kawayik yayeti. It's just in space, in the unknown. Okay, take 5. Come back. We'll get back into weather. We'll look at our little weather verb handout, and then we'll get to feelings and body parts, and after that comes kinship. Yeah, cheesh. Okay. Good. How, Whitney?
Question. Yes. Are you the person the last 2 emotion sentences, and they weren't showing in English the same? Like, are you? Is that? And I didn't see is that in the English sentence.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, who are they? Whenever you're going to have this, when you have the yun on there, it means it roughly translates to that, right? But really, what you're saying is where they are in relation to you as a speaker.
Yeah.
So this is where we get saya, sawe, sayu, aya, awe, ayu.
Yeah, I get it now. Like, yeah, is close to you.
Yes.
And, okay.
So in this room, we have ya and we. Outside of this room, we have you, right? And so then the asking, akya, akwe, akyu, right? So the same thing. So we see these, akyu is right there, and we've used them before. Ya, we, you. Aya, awe, ayu. Dasaya, dasawe, dasayu. Akya, akwe, akyu. And then there's ways you can use them too. Like if we're talking, if we're sitting outside and we're talking, and there's like a tree right here. Ya'as. But if it's over there, I might say, we'as. Isitinge. And then if we look way over there, you as. So that what they really do is situate where they are in relation to the speaker. But then when we translate, languages just work different. Like, you know, there's no the in Tlingit. It just doesn't exist. And so sometimes the translations aren't going to be exact, but as we learn the language, that's where we get to see all the stuff that goes on. This is how you'd say the same thing, but it works a little different. And same with, and she's using ayu a lot in here too. So it's just kind of, it's interesting.
So we can put it in those sentences anytime if it has something to do with that?
Yeah, like if you were using this sentence and we were two people who were sitting and talking and your son was way on the other side of the gym and he said, "Achitayu." But if he was kind of right next to us, he'd say, "Achitaya." And if he was kind of over there a little ways, "Achitawa." So that's really what they do, is they just point out how far away they are. Any other questions? Oh, I know which one. Let's do this one first. So what I want us to think about is sort of these weather phrases that we've been looking at. And I think somebody said this one earlier. Wasad was, oh, that's one. Oh, Nadayihin. Yeah, wait, okay, good cheese.
I know it from my school.
Okay, Nadayihin. Wasad wasap yadis. The cut you on. Wasad wasap yadis. Disclaim you do a sock yadis. Okay. Kunyaki sawe yawahi yadis. Kunyaki sawe yawahi yadis. Kunyaki sawe yawahi. Nas jinkat like. Kunyaki sawe yawahi yadis. Jinkat yaki yawahi yadis. Achawek lekachinach October 10. Jinkat yaki yawahi yadis. Yawahi. Yawahi is for days to pass, kind of in a month, right? It means to overnight, right? That's really what it means. Okay. And I think I got a calendar from last year, so we won't look at that. So just thinking of some time references, these are kind of fun. I was working with Kakwanish and Shakshani on these. So thinking about time, so everybody repeat after me. Ye jehwane. Ye jehwane. Ye jehwane. Ye jehwane. Ye jehwane. Ye jehwane. Takat yaki chanach 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 ye jehwane. So we get the ye jehwane, I worked. Takat yaki chanach would be all day long, right? Takat yaki chanach, all day long. Kap yaki, oh wait, let's just say the verb. Ye jechane. 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 Kap yaki 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 ye jechane. So here we get ye jechane. It's different than this one, right? What's different about it? Yejechwane, yejechane.
One of them's happy.
Yeah, so yejechwane was, it's perfective, I worked. Yejechane is imperfective, I'm working. Or there's quite a few verbs where the imperfective can also translate as I work. Yejechane, I work, right?
What's the one that's like all the days, like I'm always working?
So that's a perfective. It'd be, I don't think I had that one on.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, but yeah, it would end with the CH. So kakyagi, the kakyagi chanach is all day. Kakyagi is every day. Like just little slight differences. The cut is all, and kap is like always. They're different, right? I worked all day, I work every day. That's how we do it in English. But in Tlingit, we'd say shikatyagi, kapyagi. And they're different. We gotta get those things as we start thinking about time a little bit more. Okay. Keijin yaki shuaki. Keijin yaki shuaki kejekwane. It didn't work before. Hold on. Was it just the fingernail? Was it? Did I imagine that? What's that? Oh, the pen?
It's supposed to be a smart word.
Who's scared? It doesn't have water in it. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane. Oops. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane yit. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane yit. Keijin yaki shuahi. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane yit. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane yit. Keijin yaki shuahi yejechwane yit. So 5 days have passed, and then I worked, right? So I worked 5 days ago.
So ran out in front, shuaki.
Yeah, shuahik, they ran out. Shuahik is just they ran out.
On the first one, is there a way to say I worked all day every day?
Well, okay, now we gotta do.
Sorry.
You wanted me to get to that form, I'll get to that form. So now that's going to be a perfective habitual. So then we're going to get into here, and we're going to get down to work. Oops, that's not the work. This is the work. Kak yagi, the kat yagi, anach ye jin chanich. Okay, but we'll leave it at that. We got to get back to the weather. Okay, and there's some others on here. We're going to skip them for now. But you can see, like, I worked for 5 days. I will work 5 days from now. I will work 4 or 5 days. He went to work and will be home in 2 days. I was just real curious about, like, just these different time references because they help us to kind of tell stories and to do things like that. Okay. So here's a couple other ones. That's a long time ago, right? And how long is sometimes how long you say it. Or you could say ch in front of it, like you said, now we're like, ooh, we just went way back. And then good day. Good day. For a long time. Good a long time ago. Oh, those ones are fun. These ones are plus T. Gee, that one's fun. It's like before I was born. Or we'll skip that one. Okay. So thinking about the weather, right? Coming back to this, thinking about how these verbs work. Wasakuwati. Kuwake. Audagon. Kushagoose. Kuwata. Kusiat. Gleda Fusatan. It's come. Gleda Guxatan. Yeah, what? Siuda Fusatan. Kadats da Fusatan. Kakshahin da Fusatan. Kasechja da Fusatan. Kudugwas. Ayaudati. Ayakawadan. Kashkushka. Okay, so now I'm going to ask, what's up, Kuwati? And you'll give me the answer. What's up, Kuwati? Okay, what's up, Kuwati? What's up, Kuwati? Kuwata. Yeah, away. If you're from Guam and it's 70, then sure. What's up, Kuwati? Yeah, away. What's up, Kuwati? What's up, Kuwati? What's up, Kuwati? Kadats. What's up, Kuwati? Yeah, away. Kakshahin. What's up, Kuwati? What's up, Kuwati? Kudigwats. What's up, Kuwati? What's up, Kuwati? Ayakawadan. Yeah, away. What's up, Kuwati? Keshkushka. I didn't know what to put because I don't know what bad weather is. Right?
What you don't like, that's why.
Right? Whatever it is, you pick one that you don't like, and it's just thumbs down. I don't know if it's that way. Okay. So now let's think about. We've been talking about these verbs, right? We're really looking at the imperfective. It's a tricky business. Just take it and just learn it. But the perfective, there's two things you focus on right now. You put the perfective marker in, you make the classifier plus I. That's the way it's going to go. You look at those classifier charts and stuff, find that plus I form. Plus I is going to be ya, di, si, and zi, and shi, and gli, shi, and ji. You're going to hear the I in almost all of them. That's what the perfective will have. Perfective marker plus I classifier. It's like you turn these two switches to make it this perfective verb. There's a couple other things, but we're worried about them. The progressive imperfective means it's in the process of happening right now. So for that one, you're going to add the progressive marker minus I classifier. And then if it's an open-ended root, like T, a yawded T, it's going to close with an N. The N is going to pop up on the end of it. This is why you say yake Wuke kenakain. It's the same verb. The same verb. The future, you're going to get these three future markers. Ga, ga. You'll have a minus I classifier, and the verb stem will be long and high. These are your basics. If these are your basics. There's a couple different things we do when we get to conjugation class. We won't worry about that. We'll just kind of pay attention to it now. But we should start looking at these things and seeing how they affect the verb.
I'm sorry, which is the verb stem?
Okay, so for example, and we had another question out here. So the question that we had two questions. One is, what do we mean by the verb stem? And the other question we had was, what do we mean by an open-ended root? So when I say open-ended root, this one is open-ended. You look at that root and you say, is there a consonant at the end? Right? Because if you think of Hawaii, Hawaii will not let you end a word with a consonant. This is why the name Bill becomes Pila. Pila is just Bill in Hawaiian, right? So I would be like Lanza or something, right? And so it cannot end in a consonant. Tlingit, it doesn't matter. But when things go into that progressive imperfective, it must be closed, and it will close it with the letter N. So this is why Yake becomes Kenakain with the N on the end, right? And so I don't know if there's a progressive imperfective there. There's not one there. And then what was your question?
The stem.
So when we say, I use these sometimes interchangeably. When we're looking it up, I say the root, N-E-I. When I say stem, what I mean is this root and what the vowel is shaped like. That vowel can be like this one, ne, short and high. Ne, long and high. And there's one other option. Ne, long and low. Those are the only three options for a verb stem. So the root would be N-E-I. The stem would be whatever it's doing with the vowel as well. Because you see it changes. And it's the reason why it changes is predictable. Okay.
On our handout, you have productive happened, which I get, and future will happen, which I get, but then imperfective is happening and progressive imperfective is in process. And to me, if something is in process, it's happening. So I don't understand.
I guess.
I know I'm trying to translate this into English, which doesn't really.
Right. Okay, hold on. Let me pull that sheet up real quick. Where did I put it? So the sheet that we're talking about, and this one is on our pages, or our web page. Oh, I know where it is. Hold on. I'm trying to chew bubble gum and talk at the same time and drink water. Can't do it. Can't do it. So this is the sheet that we're looking at. And what it does is it takes all of these verbs and it puts them in the forms that we've been talking about. Right? And this one, I'm pretty sure this one's wrong. That's why there's an asterisk by it. So if you want to confirm it with the speaker, go ahead. If you want to make fun of me. So perfective happened. Imperfective means it is happening and so that just means it's happening now. Like, hey, Janae, I'm working, right? I'm working. But when we say progressive imperfective, there's some kind of repetitive process. It's an ongoing type of thing.
The process of doing work.
Yeah, right. So the example when we translate these, Huwak-a, the weather was good. Huwak-a, the weather is good. Ke-kunakain, the weather is getting better. So the difference is, it's on its way to whatever that thing is, but it's maybe not there yet. Like it gets a little tricky to think about, right? Okay, click on A, it will be okay. So here we go. It was cloud. It is cloud. It's getting cloud. Right? So this means it's in this process of happening. So it can be happening and also be there, but it can be happening and be not quite there yet. So Tlingit's always about like reaching some sort of, has it gotten there yet? And Tlingit is always trying to document that stuff with things. And what you'll see is there's some verbs where they can't have imperfectives, right? They can't. It's in this process of happening, okay, it happened. And I think of it like an explosion, right? Like one single explosion, not like a big nuclear explosion where it just happens forever, but just like a firecracker. Oh, it's gonna explode. It's starting to, okay, it happened, boom. So there are some verbs, and we call them event verbs, where now you have to switch over to the perfective. And there's some of them that are just like that. I'm gonna know it. I'm learning it. I know it. Right? So that's what this chart is showing you as far as these verbs and what this chapter is doing. So let's just take a look and move them through these different forms. Right? I'm gonna ignore this one because I'm pretty sure. Wasakuwati. 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 Oh wait, you want to go this way? Okay, we'll go this way. Kuwake. Kuwake. Audigan. Audigan. Kusaguts. Kusaguts. Kuwata. Kuwata. Kusiat. Kusiat. Play dog wusatan. Play dog wusatan. Kudigwas. Kudigwas. Ayauditi. Ayauditi. Ayakawadan. Ayakawadan. Kashkushke. Kashkushke. Khat yawasik. Khat yawasik. Khat wuditak. Khat wuditak. Awadak. Awadak. Ade auchleqain. And that one's not in there, but I looked at it. I looked over in that direction. Okay.
Can you say that last one?
Ade auchleqain.
Ade
auchleqain. 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 So whenever you see this XW consonant thing, that's going to go. That's what that sound is right in the middle. That could be, there's a lot of times where you're going to do that and it's just going to feel, you're going to feel like something's wrong, but that's right. Because what ends up happening is people put a U there. So let's say, and it's not quite right because it gets contracted. And then we'll see there's a group of them that we cannot have in the imperfective, right? So, and if that's the case, you have to either say it like it's either sunny or it's getting sunny. It's starting to get sunny, right? And this is how we would translate this. It's beginning to sunshine, right? And so usually when we have progressive imperfective, the weather is a good place to start looking at. Because what that means, it was something, but now it's becoming something else. We're watching it change. That's the big difference. It's not there yet, but we're seeing it get there. And this is why we say, Ya'anas Queen. He or she is starting to know. They're learning. Ya'anas Queen. I'm a learner, right? So for this one, as we go down, and we'll skip the ones that don't have the imperfective. Wasakuwati. Kuwake. Kushagoose. Kuwata. Kusiat. Kudigwats. Kesh kushke. And all the rest, because you can be getting wet, but you can't, there's no like little in between for some of these, right? So now we get into the progressive imperfective. Kekunakain. Ye undergun. Kekunaskus. Ya kunatain. Kekunasat. Glade darkness ton. Ya kundagwats. Ye ayandateen. So that's when we see it has closed with the end, right? Just like this one, closed with the end. And so sometimes the vowel changes shape. We go from ta to tain. We go from k to tain. So these are just some things we're going to have to get used to. So if we see some verb that says tain on the end and we don't see a tain in the dictionary, we might look up and see if we can find it through there. Ya ayakanadan. Keshke kunashkain. Ya khatna detak. I am starting to get wet. I'm beginning to get wet. Ya anadak. Wasakukwati. Kekukwake. Ye agurdagan. Kekugurshabus. Kekukwata. Kekugursaat. Glade gursatan. Kugurdagwas. Ye ayagurdati. Ayakakwadan. Keshke kugurshake. Khatyak kwasik. Khatgurdak. Akwadak. Ade akwaspain. Well, let's do the nouns, and then when we come back, we'll be done with the weather. You can tell everybody all about the weather now. You can get a job at the Tlingit weather station as a weather person, and because you don't even have to be right. I mean, you got to be right with your conjugations, but you could be totally wrong. Like it's gonna snow tomorrow, and people are still tuning.
Oh, I just want to say, I don't know if you were there yesterday, but at the Indigenous Peoples Day celebration.
Oh yeah.
Richard Peterson announced that all of the employees of Central Council will have to take language class.
Yeah, he told me that. And
That's
then
been on my mind
cool.
too. That is really awesome.
He challenged Anthony Millat to do the same thing at Sea Alaska.
Doesn't that make you tear up a little bit?
It's pretty awesome. We've been pushing that for a long time. Yeah, we got to get him to follow up, and we got to get our people in the door and just get this stuff out there more. You can. Okay, so we're gonna do these now. Then Thursday we'll get into feelings, a few body parts, and then when we get into those feelings too, we're going to start thinking about putting those verbs into just playing around with these different modes. Because now what we start doing is we start moving these verbs through these modes. And we start changing the subjects. Then we start adding objects. That's the whole goal. Then we're going to move into hausane chayu chatangi and start looking at changing nouns and doing a bunch of other stuff. Ka, kook, kook, Gusuwe kook. Cook away. Oh wait, that was just like, I'm trying to think of this sentence, like the box is in the basement, right? In the cellar. Cook. Yeah, with cook. But there's also like the linguistic marriage I want to make is with a clan that's called Cookhiton and an opposite clan that's called Cookhiton. And they exist. Like I want to force that marriage so that people just practice that. So we're also going to start talking about directions. So is towards the beach. But that's how you talk about it when you're in the interior. Not like all the way like in Whitehorse. But where we're at in this classroom here in Ak is we are dock. We're upland from the ocean. So when you say ik, you have to be upland. You can't say it from the beach. You can't say it from the ocean. You could, if you're on the phone, telling somebody where to go, and they're in the interior, right?
How far is that? Inside the trees, or
about the tree line? Yeah, that's quite good. So we're going to start getting into concepts like that too. Directions work a little different. Tlingit. They're just funner. Shock. 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 Tuck. 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 Shucked. 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 Yak-a. Yak-a. Arch. Arch. Quwakan. Quwakan. Qach. Qach. Shakwena. Shakwena. Sao. Sao. Sikhat. Sikhat. Sikh. Sikh. Utsa. Utsa. Uze. Uze. Todd. Oops. Tustanesi. Oh, I did it. Tustanesi. 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 Danesi. The ointment around it. It comes from a verb na, which is to put some kind of oil or lotion on something. Yadanese is sunblock. Nace is lotion. Tus is thread. Chas. 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 Twos. 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 Knees. 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 Sissa. 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 Taka. 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 Kanata. 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 Hita. 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 Sit. 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 Glee. 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 I guess we'll pick up there, but you guys should also be able to say these and spell these if I were to put them up and say it, spell it. Yeah, we finish cheese, you go on. Good job.
So those posters came in and they look pretty good, and I'm wondering, Should I hang them up in the other room and just pin them straight into the wall, or
Yeah.
is that a problem?
I don't think it's a problem. If we tape them, then someone will take them.
Or I mount it on, like, what do you call it, phone cord or something.
Oh yeah, well, maybe we should think about that.